Welcome to Town Talk, the official podcast of Summerville, South Carolina, where we bring you the latest news, events, and conversations with people who make our town special. Today, I'm very excited to bring on Leo, our IT manager here at the town. He goes by many different names, and I'll let him kind of talk into that a little bit more. But thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So, how many names do you have?
Just Leo. People know me as Lenny, Leo, Leonard. So those are mainly the three. I've probably been called other things too, but those are the main three.
Well, we're really excited to have you. And I'm this conversation. A lot of our podcasts have been, with council members, and
right.
We did Diane, who's a community member.
Right.
We had a chief Wright out on here, but this one's a little different,
right?
Because we're now going into IT and your expertise. But before we dig into that, I just want you to kind of just tell us a little bit more about yourself and what brought you here to the town of Summerville.
Sure. I actually started in IT, electronics many years ago. I was a Radio Shack manager back in the 80s and 90s, so that's how old I am. But when I really started in IT in earnest was the South Carolina State Ports Authority.
Okay.
And I worked there. I was a network administrator, an email administrator there for about 7 years when the opportunity came in Summerville. Summerville really didn't have an IT department before I started. They were kind of just contracting and kind of piecemealing it. So when I came, we actually started the IT department.
Okay. So what was that startup like? What's the difference between then and now?
Back then, we were using a lot of antiquated technology, still using a lot of on-premise backup tapes. We were using switches that were located in various parts. We never had a dedicated IT facility. We were just kind of, like I said, it was just kind of piecemeal. So I was kind of just start to get all that together. We also changed our one of the first things we did is we went to the cloud for our email system. We were one of the early adopters of Office 365, and what that did is it took the email server out of the equation, and it kind of brought everybody together. When I started, the police, there was a SomervillePolice.com, there was a SomervilleFire.com, there was a SomervilleCourt.com. Everybody had their own thing going, and we combined them all to one. And I think that's been a benefit to the town.
Of course, enhanced security. Now, to circle back real quick, just for our community, what exactly is a cloud?
Cloud-based just means that your applications or data is not stored are not stored on premise or at this facility, and we feel like we can secure that better, and it's more cost efficient, and it enables multiple sites and remote workers the ease of doing their jobs as well. If we have to run into that situation again with the pandemic, or if there's a hurricane or something, people can still do their jobs, but they don't necessarily have to be here at Town Hall to do that.
So basically, in a nutshell, the benefits include freeing up time for employees, enhanced security, and just ease of use overall.
And cost efficiency as well, because you don't have, we're not buying a server, we're not cooling the server, we're not providing power for the server.
To save a lot of money.
We're not upgrading the server when it needs to be upgraded, those kind of things. So,
Okay. Before we dig in deeper into IT and your role, I just want to have you share a little bit more about yourself. Some of your hobbies, your family, and kind of where you grew up, and your experience here in Summerville.
Yeah, I grew up in Hanahan, married, wife Gina, and we have a son, older son now. He's lives in Columbia with his wife Bailey. We have a brand new grandson.
Congratulations!
He's about 8 months old, and looking forward to his first birthday party. And Christmas should be interesting this year. So that's where I kind of started there.
Nice. And do you have any special hobbies? Do you like to fish or sports? Big sports guy?
Big sports guy. We love our Carolina Gamecocks.
Gamecocks, there it is.
Half of y'all will be happy, maybe the other half won't. But yeah, we go tailgating, and we try to go to a couple away games each year and stuff. So yeah, enjoy that.
Nice. We were in the episode before you. We had Councilman Touchberry, and he was a huge Clemson fan.
Right.
I was like, it's either one or the other.
Yes. I have plenty of family and friends that are Clemson fans too. So that's how it is.
It is here in South Carolina.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
let's. Here at the Town of Summerville, we kind of got a glimpse already of what it used to be and kind of the IT, the birth of it when you came on board. What is your day-to-day as the IT manager here at the town?
We monitor a lot of logs. We actually implement different, security is so top of mind now, and we definitely will get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But the role of an IT department, I feel, is to provide enough tools and applications for people to do their jobs, but also secure it in a way that we're protecting our taxpayers from breaches. And so it's a balance that you have to come up with. You can't do too much where they can't do their jobs, but you can't lapse it earlier. So it's a tough balance, but that's what we try to achieve on our daily basis. So
nice. And so basically, to feed off of that, why is having an IT, I would say, not only manager but a department, just so important for municipalities?
Yeah, IT touches every department.
Yeah,
and you have to have that. There's so many compliance issues that we have to adhere to, not only HIPAA and credit card compliance and the police criminal justice compliance. There's a myriad of different things we have to do, and having an IT department, having a dedicated IT staff is important. Like I said, there's no department that IT doesn't impact.
Yeah, I can attest to that. Just for just to kind of give an example, Lenny and his team are always running around. I mean, there's so much that needs to be done with
Right.
IT, and it's definitely a high demand field, but a high importance.
It is, and like I said, I think we may talk about that later with the young people coming up.
Yeah,
it's vitally important, I think. So
of course. Now we're in 2023, and I guess that industry and that role, or your role, it's got to be ever changing. What
it does.
In 2023? What are like your biggest concerns when it comes to IT?
Oh, well, certainly security's top of mind. We're always trying to protect. You hear stories all the time about other counties and municipalities, being targeted and being hit with ransomware, and they have to go back to pen and paper to conduct the town business, or they have to go to their council and ask for Bitcoin because we have this ransomware and everything's encrypted and we can't get our stuff back. And it's those are the scariest parts, I think, of the job. But keeping up on the latest technology and trends is definitely one of the things that we do. And our department, we have certifications in our department, so we have to have continuing education and certain things with that as well. So that's where we're at with that.
Now, you brought up Bitcoin, and I'm sure a lot of people are familiar, but in case anyone's not familiar, can you explain Bitcoin? And I know it's cryptocurrency in a sense, but could you explain it just in a generalized way?
Yeah, it's a digital currency, and it does have legitimate use, but it's also used a lot in nefarious activities where it's hard to trace. It's easy to transfer monies. Unfortunately, it is used by a lot of scammers and hackers and nefarious. And like I said, it's a cryptocurrency, like you said, and a lot of people are familiar with it. It is still a little unknown exactly how it works with the data mining and stuff like that, and it's hard to wrap your head around it. But that's mainly how you would if you have ransomware, that's mainly how they would try to get the payment from you.
Yeah. I appreciate you digging into that a little bit more. And, there's other trends going on. I know for me, I'm always getting on my personal email, not really at all with our emails here, but my personal email, I'm getting a bunch of spam email that is almost believable at times.
Right. Yeah.
What is behind that?
Well, that's a great question. I actually have been researching, and I dig into that constantly. We block a ton of emails here at the town, and again, that goes back to that balance of allowing people to do their jobs, but also securing it. But some still get through. The end goal is always money for these for the scammers. I actually, when I was going to talk about today was mainly two types of scam. I mentioned earlier ransomware, and I was also going to talk about scamming that necessarily doesn't have to initiate with a computer or a telephone or a cell phone or whatever. It can be just a phone call. But the ransomware, I can tell you, it's a malware that will get, you can get it on your computer if you click a link in an email. Let's say you weren't expecting an email, or even if you think you know the person that sent the email, there could be a malicious link. And this is what you hear about, like years ago, we had the Department of Revenue. We lost, I don't know how many Social Security numbers got breached, and that was because an employee simply clicked a link in an email, and it opened up the network to the hackers. And the ransomware, basically, you can get that from mainly the links in the email, but also from going to malicious websites. What you think is a legitimate website, Amazon, FedEx, a bank, whatever, it looks legitimate, but it's obviously a copy or a fake. But anyway, the ransomware will take all the files on your computer, all your documents, your photos, your videos, whatever you have all saved on there, and it'll encrypt them. And when I say encrypt them, that means they're not usable anymore until you have this decryption key or an unlock key. And the way you get the unlock key is the ransom. They will give you a notice and say your computer is locked. You have 72 hours to provide us with however much money.
That's crazy.
And we'll give you the decryption key. Well, first off, a couple things. If you, in some cities and towns, have paid the ransom, there are, there's cybersecurity insurance. And a lot of those cybersecurity insurance companies don't want you to pay the ransom. Some towns have opted to pay the ransom because of all their files.
Yeah.
So it's a delicate situation. And if you pay the ransom, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the key.
Yeah.
Now there's, you can dig, there's many, many levels to this. There's something called an ethical hacker or ethical hacker that does the ransomware, and they will provide you with the key because they're going to do it again later. So they know, they're training you that, you pay the money, you get the key, all your files are there. We may do it a year later. So if they don't give you the key, it's a one-time shot. You'll never pay it again, right?
Yeah.
So they actually will give you the key in some cases just to
because they know
set you up.
Yeah,
right.
That makes sense.
It's just, but the other one is the phone calls. Targeting, hate to say it, a lot of elderly people, but really just anybody. It could be phone call, it could be an email, like you mentioned earlier, social media messages, pop-up ads on the computer. These are all just designed to trick people, and they're getting really good. Back in the old days, I say the old days, probably, I don't know how long it's been, 12, 15, 18 years ago, you had the Nigerian prince. You were relatives. He died. You get all this money. Send us this money for customs, wherever we'll send you the money, right? That was the old scam.
Yep.
It's evolved, and they're getting better, and they're getting better. We have some, like targeting our payroll department that will say, hey, this is employee Joe Blow or whatever. Change my bank account to this and my routing number this for my direct deposit. And that has actually worked in a lot of organizations. Hasn't worked here, but a lot of the payroll clerk will just assume that's a legitimate email, and
Yep.
there goes the person's paycheck in somebody else's bank account. Now, there's literally probably hundreds of thousands of these examples of the scammers. They impersonate IRS, FTC, Amazon, banks, Geek Squad, Microsoft, whatever. And even though we filter a lot of emails, some get through. These scams. I want to kind of go through a couple examples if I can. I know I don't know how much time we have. One of the most common ones over the last probably 2 to 3 years is the refund scam, and I'll try to explain this as best I can. You may receive a call from a scammer. They may say you have a subscription to a service, like an antivirus service like Norton or McAfee or whatever. And they may say you have the option to cancel that subscription, even though you didn't know you had it, and we're going to give you $300. You're going to get refunded $300. And you say, of course, I'll do that. I didn't know I was paying $300.
Yep.
I'll take the $300, right? So they'll convince you to open your PC, allow access to your PC, and then they'll get you to open up your bank account on your PC. They'll actually get you to log into your bank. And people do this because they think they're getting the $300. So what they do is, and not to get super technical, is they'll take a snapshot of that screen, and it's now a editable photo. So then your screen, they're on your computer remotely. Your screen goes black for a second, then it comes back, and it's the edited bank account statement. It looks just like your bank, exactly like your bank. But guess what? Now there's $3,000 more in your bank account instead of $300. Somebody made a mistake, right? So there's a mistake. We gave you too much money. Send us $2,700 back. You keep the $300. So, and people look at it and go, there's $3,000 more in my checking account. This is correct, right? And it's not your bank account at all. It's just a photo, manipulated photo. So people send back the $2,700. Happens all the time. So, another one is the tech support scams. You see a pop-up on your screen, hey, this is Microsoft tech support. We noticed your computer was running slow or there's been problems with it. Call this number, and for however much money, we'll fix it for you. Well, everybody thinks in their head, my computer's always running slow. That's probably correct, right? Nobody's like, my computer's super fast. So they call the number. I had a close friend, older friend, got hit with that one. And it's more localized now too. So what I'm saying is these scams evolve so much that we can't even hardly keep up with them, and they're getting better and better and better. And I'm going to hopefully at the end of this kind of tell you what to look for, and basically, be very, very cynical when it comes to these phone calls and emails is what I'm going to say. But I had just a few weeks ago, I had a friend tell me he received a call on a Sunday from the Charleston County Citations Department. They told him he missed jury duty. They were coming to arrest him immediately unless he paid through a certain amount through PayPal or Venmo.
Wow.
That's Charleston County. So I'm talking about they're very, very local now. They usually don't do that. It's usually like an Amazon or a FedEx, or we have a package for you, or click here for your invoice or whatever. So they said a police officers are coming to arrest him if he didn't pay. So he called me. He wasn't nervous or anything, but he just called me and said, "What do you think about this?" And I told him it was obviously fake. I said, police departments never ask for money. They're not coming to arrest you for missing jury duty. And so it's, like I said, it's getting very localized too. Another one that preys upon people's emotions is they have the romance scams now.
Romance scams.
Romance scams, when a criminal, he adopts a fake, or she adopts a fake online identity, and you court that person, or you have a relationship with that person for weeks or even months, or it could be years, but mainly months. then they will try to get you to eventually, once you're in that relationship, send them money so they can come visit you, or something happened over here. I'm in Europe and something happened. Somebody's in the hospital, or it was an accident. Can you send me some money? And this is like their boyfriend girlfriend type thing. So they send the money. So that preys upon people, with the dating sites. That it's a horrible thing, but it does happen. And there are a few other ones too, like you won the Publishers Clearinghouse, but you need to go get us gift cards so we can process your payment. There's been rental property scams. Come rent this great apartment for $500 a month, and you pay the money. You pay them up front or whatever. I think one of the latest ones I heard was they will call and ask you what cell service or internet service you have. Let's say I have Verizon. They say, well, we're running a special with our partner Target. So if you prepay, how much are you paying now? You're paying $200 a month. Okay. If you prepay 6 months in advance, we'll give it to you for $100 a month. So all you got to do is go to Target and get us 6 $100 gift cards, and your bill's paid for 6 months. And of course, it never is. And there is no partnership with Target, and the gift cards seem to be valued to them as well. So that's another one. I'm just saying you have to be so vigilant and pay attention.
Wow.
Unfortunately, a lot of these scams do occur in foreign countries, and I'm not stereotyping at all. But they do have American names. They'll say they're Joe Williams or Mike Thomas or whatever. And these people are celebrated. These people are, they're treated like rock stars. They're like, hey, we scammed the Americans, we're awesome. And that's like, they really are. And it's some interesting psychology behind it all. The main things I think they use from just doing the research, I think they use greed. You're getting that refund. You've won a prize. You've getting a reward. They use fear. We're coming to arrest you. My son actually got a call from the IRS when he was in college saying they were coming to arrest him because he owed them $500, and the sheriff was on his way to arrest him. And he called me all upset, and this is when he was in college. And I told him, I said, well, tell them you have their money, and you'll meet them at the Richland County, police department. Meet you there. Mm-hmm. And they never, of course, didn't pursue or anything. Yep. But the psychology is, like I said, is greed, fear. You're going to lose all your money. We're going to come arrest you, and compassion. Now, the compassion one is where the scammer will say, going back to that refund scam, we made a mistake. We gave you too much money. Instead of $300, we gave you $3,000. I'm going to lose my job if you don't send back that $2,700 because there was a mistake made. So I'm going to lose my job. Do you want me to lose my job? And that preys on people's compassion. And of course, I don't want you to lose your job, and I see it's in my bank account, so of course I'll send that back to you. Yeah. And that's why they work, and they do work. I just think the bottom line is if you receive a phone call that you weren't expecting, an email you weren't expecting, you really have a feeling that it might be legitimate. Let's say you get an email from Amazon or from your bank or whatever, just hang up and actually call your bank or call. You initiate the call. You initiate.
Great point.
Don't react to people initiating anything with you. If you think it might be legitimate, you actually call them yourself. And don't call them back on the number they called you or anything like that. You look up the actual real number and you call and tell them what the situation was. Basically, if you can just be vigilant and not really entertain these people, you'll never actually really get scammed. But I'm going to tell you, it works, and it's a $1 billion business, and it really does work.
Is anyone else scared? Because that is crazy. I mean, just digging into everything that, all the different aspects and the psychology behind it. It's scary, but that's why we're having you on, having this conversation. I feel very fortunate to have you on the team.
I appreciate it.
To protect us. But this is why we're having this conversation for the community, because not everyone has an IT manager at their home.
If one person gets a call and figures it out that it's a scam, we've done our job. That's what I hope. I hope that it does protect somebody, because there's people very close to us that have been scammed. I mean, there are attorneys, there are doctors. There's no shame in it. They're very good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people are afraid to say they got scammed or they got taken, but I'm telling you, there's been
I'm sure someone in your circle has been scammed.
Well, there's people here personally that have been scammed, not through the town, but personally. So it happens. And they're good at what they do, and they're only going to get better. That's what I worry about. And we didn't touch on AI, artificial intelligence, too much. But, just like when the internet first came out, there were many good things about it, a lot of information that you could get from it and everything, but there's also a lot of bad things.
Yeah. And
it's similar with AI. There's a lot of good that's going to come from it, but there's a lot of negative things too. And these scammers are very well with AI, and I'm not here to scare everybody. I know it sounds scary. But, when you start getting into voice impersonation, hey, this is your son, I need $500, but it's really not. It's the AI impersonating your son, even their voice. It's just be very vigilant. That's all I can say.
I know when it comes to AI, I have kind of some minor education in it, but, Lenny has a really good point. It's at a point now where they can take someone's voice and impersonate it. And when you get a call and it's your son, your daughter's voice, I mean, come on, right? I mean, how are you supposed to know the difference? And so, and that's a real thing, and that's only going to continue to grow. Here at the town, right, when it comes to AI and that type of security, how are we preparing from that or for that? Is it just kind of educating staff and the community, and is that where we're at right now?
Yeah, AI is it's been around a long time, but it's relatively new as far as practical applications. So we're looking at actually different uses for AI that we can actually use it for good or use it for positive reasons. We're going to have a municipal association meeting, I think, in the fall, and that's going to be one of the big topics of what are other cities and towns and everything doing with AI, and how can we utilize AI, and will it, how can we, basically the bottom line is how does it benefit our citizens or taxpayers if we can. So there are many applications. I'm sure there's tons of them we haven't even thought of yet that can be utilized with it, but it's relatively new as far as using it in everyday jobs. I mean, it's been around a long time, but it's relatively new for that. Chat GPT and Bard and all those different applications.
And I know for anyone who's not familiar with that, Chat GPT, Google Bard is an AI user and please add on whenever, but it's an AI user face that basically it's a chat bot, a chat robot. And you can ask it to build you a workout plan or a food plan for the week, and it will do it in seconds.
Right.
And so people are using it to
write speeches.
Yeah.
Also, like you said, in your field, press releases, but write speeches, write presentations. It's just a myriad of different things they can do with it.
And but it does come with its downsides. I know there's, it's not accurate all the time, and it also does make errors. And so if you're ever in the presented with it, for example, if you use it, double check it and really put human application into it, read it, rewrite it, kind of use it to give you some bones. But if you are also, let's just say, a teacher and you have your students using papers, I'm sure y'all have programs, but there's programs where you can plug in that stuff and see if it was written by AI. Use it. That way, you know, when it comes to education, you know that the student is actually, you know, writing rather than, you know, using AI.
But then the good part about it is the teacher can actually use it to create a lesson plan legitimately. And you know, may need tweaking a little bit. So yeah, like I said, there's going to be good and bad from it. So
you can't hide from it. So you have to accept that it's here. But also, you know, the important thing for this conversation, I think, is just, I think we can't emphasize enough to educate yourself on it and know the differences between what AI can do and what just human input can do.
And like I said, we mainly the focus of this podcast, I wanted it to be on the scam stuff, and I wanted to bring up AI just to let people know that it's an ever evolving. It's not just one stop shopping. They try the same scam over and over again. Now, they figure out when their scam is up, and you know, how many of y'all have gotten a call about your car warranty? You know, that's a scam. So, you know, when they figure out that's done, they're going to move on to something else.
Yeah.
It's like you don't get the Nigerian prince thing anymore, but they've moved on to different things. So, just basically, and I hate to keep going back to the scams, but basically
it's important though.
Bottom line is, if you initiated the call or the email or whatever, that's okay. But if someone's initiating it with you, be very, very wary. They've impersonated the police, IRS, FedEx, Amazon. You have a package, we have an invoice for it, whatever. They've impersonated almost everything that you would expect to be legitimate.
And they've created, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but they've created legit looking websites that copy it. They've created email addresses that are literally almost copy and paste, maybe one letter off, right? Am I right on that?
Oh, yeah.
So you really have to look at every detail of an email sometimes to notice that, this really isn't.
And they, you know, like I said, I'm not here to scare anybody. I just want people to be aware. Even with the phone calls, you know, they can spoof telephone numbers where you look at your phone and it says Amazon and it's a whatever phone number, and you might think it's them. So basically, I'm saying if they contact you, however way, email, phone call, pop up, whatever, if you're being the one contacted, just be very, very wary. And if you have any inkling that it might be legitimate, you call back on the real number.
Mm-hmm. And now for, I think we've definitely put the fear out there, which I, in my opinion, I believe the fear is important. I think it should scare you, because you and your loved ones, you don't want to.
We're at the point where probably almost everybody probably knows somebody
who's been scammed.
He's either been scammed or almost been scammed, been close to being scammed.
I think there's a couple times I've almost been scammed, and I'm pretty good at catching it. And some of them it's the ones that they impersonate an email address that got me in a role that I previously had at a different place. They copied an email from who my boss was, and I was like, oh, whoa.
We've had that too. We've had one person they said the FTC was calling, and I don't know what they're some kind of nonsense they were talking about, but the bottom line is they wanted access to the bank account, the person's bank account, but they didn't want them to tell their spouse they were doing it. And these are all just huge red flags. A sense of urgency, any deception, anything with your bank account, anything with your passwords, anything like that. There's nothing in an email or a website you need to put any of your personal information, any of your passwords in to access it. That's not legitimate.
Now, for any of the community members that are listening, we've talked a lot about how to spot it, what it looks like. What are some things we can do on our phones, on our computers, to be proactive on protecting ourselves and our data?
Well, obviously, the old way was mainly just in keeping your antivirus up to date. There are many spam filters as well. Antivirus is evolved into, people typically on their personal devices don't have it, but there's a generation 2 antivirus that uses AI, which is going back to AI.
Yeah.
That will block a lot of that. There are a lot of services. Aura, I think, is one of them. There's a few different services that will also, actually have a VPN that will be more secure when you're browsing the web and that kind of thing. But main thing is you're never going to replace the human part of that. That's why you have to be so aware. That's why an organization as big as the Department of Revenue, with however many people they have and the millions and whatever dollars they control, that one little employee clicks on an email link and shuts the whole thing
It's a wildfire.
down. So it's all back to that human element part of it.
Now, is there any specific, I know on our iPhones and our Androids, there's apps that we could download to protect, our phones, because that's what the majority of us are using. But the same thing as a laptop. What are some, you said Aura, right?
Right.
What are some other programs or apps that we could use? And I'll link them in the bio of this podcast episode as well, so our community can just go ahead and download them.
Okay, yeah, I'll look up which ones that we prefer, and I'll send those to you. But there's dozens of them, but there's certain ones that are designed to combat these scams. So I'll get you a list of those.
So in the description of this podcast, you'll see that list that Lenny is gonna put together for us, and I definitely will be using the list as well. Let's get out of the scare tactic a little bit.
Okay.
I want to pull this back a little bit. IT, like I said at the beginning, is a very growing field, and It's an extremely important field that we need more professionals in.
Right.
There is not enough IT professionals in our country or in this world globally. Why? Can you, for anyone younger, or I guess anyone, you can get an IT at any point in your life. What are the benefits and the positives you've had in your career that you would like to share, and then also some things that you would encourage folks to join IT?
Yeah, IT is actually it's a field that's ever changing. So if you're a person that likes to learn new things and likes to discover new processes and new ways of doing it and making efficiencies and stuff, it's a great field. We talked about cybersecurity a lot with this, but there are other areas as well that's super high demand. Network engineers, we actually have in the town, we have our own GIS department, which is for, mapping basically, but it also it's much more than that. That's really a very, very fast growing area of IT. And of course, we talked about cloud computing and virtualization specialists. There are even some municipalities that have full-time drone pilots. And you might know a little more about that than I would, but they're actually, that's actually a position, just drone pilot. And that sometimes falls under IT for, a lot of the software that they use. And again, they touch different departments as well. If you have a passion for a certain area, I always say you really want to dig into that area. You don't want to just learn what you learn from the class or the textbook. You have to go above and beyond that. And it's really, IT in general is, like I said, is about the business processes. How do we conduct business? For a municipality is how do we process building permits? How do we process business licenses? How do we conduct the municipal court business? how do we enact ordinances? These are all is there a better way to do that? Is there in the bottom line, is it a better way to do it, and is it better for the citizens or for the taxpayers?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we kind of look at as a overall encompassing kind of way to look at it.
As you can tell, the IT is not just there for, oh, my email won't open, can you help me figure it out? Though that is a part of your role.
Right.
You know, when there's technical issues, I'm sure you're the first person usually called. Now, but it goes a lot deeper than that. And there's like you said, there's different branches that you can look at. For anyone who is interested in entering the IT industry, do you have any kind of recommendations on what direction they should take? Is it education? If so, what type of education? And kind of that route.
Yeah, definitely. Any degree in computer engineering or computer technology is beneficial. The certifications are a lot what these larger organizations kind of look for. In the old days, it was the MCSE, which is the Microsoft Certified Engineer. Now it's a lot of the A+, or Network Plus, or Security Plus. But there's literally just hundreds and hundreds of different certifications, a lot of Cisco stuff. But again, make sure it's something you have a passion for, and if you're starting out and you're not sure what direction to go to, and you're kind of open to any of the areas of technology, my advice if I was talking to my kid again would be get on Monster.com, get on Indeed, whatever, what's out there, what's in demand, what are people hiring for, what do people need? That's where I want to focus instead of just something random. Make sure it's in demand and make sure, and it does change a lot. So
now with IT in the municipality industry, right?
Yeah.
Or where is that? I know, luckily for us here at the Town of Summerville, we have a department, we have an IT manager. But I know from experience and just from my circle that not every municipality, town, city has IT folks.
That's right.
Where does that sit? Is it continuing to grow?
It is. People, they realize that IT is not an option. It's not like a perk. It's something that's required. Unfortunately, a lot of municipalities in the state now have an IT department, but they're pretty small. So a lot of these IT departments have to be kind of a jack of all trades. It's funny. We talked to some of our neighbors that are much larger than us as far as organization, and they'll say, "Oh, well, we have our network administrator and our database administrator. We'll talk to your database." That's not how it works in smaller organizations. It's usually a smaller group. Many towns have one or two, maybe three IT people, and they have to manage like that. So that's just kind of how it is now with the municipalities. But again, it's creating that balance of allowing people to do their job, giving them the tools to do their job, but also protecting the data, the citizens' data, and the kind of the town's network.
From your knowledge, and this is just out of curiosity for me, where we're at here in 2023, in your opinion, how many people do you think an IT department should have? And not just in the municipality standpoint, but any type of... There
are numbers, depending on the number of employees, there's a ratio. It really depends. It really depends on how much on-premise stuff you have, how many remote workers do you have, how many sites do you have. There's a lot of factors that go into it. There is a number, and I don't know it off the top of my head. There is a 1 to 500 ratio or some sort of ratio. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but there are organizations that have many more IT people, and there's some that are getting by with one or two.
Yeah.
And that's just a reality of it. So.
It depends on the needs.
It depends on the needs. I think the more again, the less on-premise hardware, the more cloud computing, and perhaps even virtualization that you've implemented may not require as much. Those kind of things to make a big difference.
Great. And it's to bring this train home a little bit. The future of information technology, IT, security. I think it's going to be the same answer. It's going to really involve AI. Am I correct?
It is. It's going to involve AI. It's going to revolve around AI. When you're doing backups, it's going to, AI is going to look at it and decide what's the best, most efficient way to do this, and recovery. Again, like I told you, the second generation of the antiviruses are, all of them have AI implemented. Our new website, am I correct? You're actually rolling that out soon. That has AI.
Yep.
Built in. So yeah, AI is going to be huge, and some people don't like it. Some people think it's a negative. Some people think it may replace jobs. But it is a reality. It's a reality we have to understand, and again, if we can utilize it, how we can utilize it best.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I'm glad you actually said something. The cat's out of the bag. We are working. No, it's great. That was perfect, actually. So we do have a new website coming out. We're very excited about it. And we'll be pulling that out at some point later this year. We're still in the works of it, but it's beautiful. It's very streamlined. It makes the user experience so much easier. And we're looking forward to it.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Spoiler alert. But hey, it's time. But last question, and then we'll go our separate ways. I ask this at the end of every podcast. Summerville's filled with awesome places to eat. What are your top 3 go-to places to eat here in Summerville?
Oh, that's a great question. I like, actually, believe it or not, I actually like the new Greek restaurant that's on Main Street.
Okay, yes.
It's called, I knew you were going to put me on the spot, Kairos, I think it is.
Kairos. Yeah, yes, it is. It is, yes.
Yeah. I like the Mexican restaurant. I'm trying to think of the other one.
The Mexican restaurant right by CVS over there?
Right, yep. Right. And Crust Pizza is one of my favorites too.
Crust? I've never been to Crust.
It's really, really good. Yeah,
that's right by Earth Fair?
Yes.
Yeah, Earth Fair, Dunkin', that area. Yeah. Okay, awesome. I'll definitely have to try Crust, but the other 2 places are awesome. Yeah. But that question we ask every time, and we're almost getting different answers every time too. So it's really cool how it's all going to combine. But Lenny, thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate your time and taking the time out of your day to educate the community on IT and security. And we are extremely grateful to have you on board and to have your expertise here at the town to protect us and also our community's information and data. But thank you so much for joining today.
I appreciate it. Thank you.